could do a co-bill. Yeah, I mean, we're 2.5 months in. It's pretty noteworthy that we have Joe Rogan and Dave Chappelle already pretty harshly coming out against the administration on different.
So I think Tim meant to say Dave Smith, because I don't think that Dave Chappelle was ever, giving Trump any type of like accolades or helping him out with anything or saying like, yay, tariffs or anything like that. Shout out to Miller. But I know it's funny when things like that happen, right? No, but yeah, man, people are looking at this stuff and they're just like, I don't know. I don't think I like where this is going. So let's go ahead and get into it. Tim Miller is going to slam Joe Rogan. Tim Miller's obliterating and annihilating Joe Rogan. And you know what? Look, Joe Rogan has millions of views. Shout out to Joe Rogan. We do not want anything bad to happen to Joe Rogan or his podcast. I am not here to wish bad on people. But when people realize that they're not getting 100% the truth, they start to fall back on you. I'm just saying. And nobody, right, okay, so nobody has 100% the truth. But at the same time, it's like, people are being gaslit to think that this is the best thing ever. In theory, it could work, but we don't live in theory. But let's go ahead and get into it. Across different items. So it was Rogan I played last week on the Venezuelan deportations, and now Chappelle on this. I guess it's just worth sitting for a second on the fact that like it was only a month ago that everybody was like, there's been a real vibe shift. People are coming around to Trump. That's changing it's changing people's behavior. There's who knows what positive results could come if you're conservative, right? And I do wonder if there's some like ripple effects on stiffening the spines of people in big law. Lauren Egan has a great newsletter this weekend for the Bulwark on how Democrats are pissed at Democrats who are executives of these law firms that are folding. In corporate America, like, are these guys going to start to be like, okay, wait a minute, this little moment here where we all were like, oh, we need to suck up to Trump, and then everything will be okay. Maybe we might be sensing that dark period in our history is already past. I don't know. Is that too hopeful?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, I think the darkest period has passed or is passing. The question is, and you've remarked on this also over the weekend and late last week, these nice Republican congressmen and senators who were so upset about this, maybe they could actually do something about it. So we're at the being concerned stage. Same with the donors, same with the Wall Street guys, same with everyone. Those people could have a lot of effect. The donors, obviously, within the administration to some degree, but also on members of Congress. So they should be pushing members of Congress to stop this. This is a little congressional grant of power, the emergency powers that Trump is using. It can be overturned, as I understand it, by 51 votes in the Senate and 218 in the House. And I don't know that it's even could be vetoed if they pass that resolution, withdrawing that grant of power.
Is that true?
I think so.
Yeah, it's the veto part that I'm not sure about. I think it was Jake Sherman who said this. And again, we're in unprecedented times. So, right. Jake is very good. He's over at Punchbowl of analyzing the Hill.
Well, before they get into that, I heard that, what I heard was that you can't, even if he can veto it, but he wrote it as an executive order. Trump wrote it as an executive order to make it seem as though, like we were in this position right now where like we are in some financial emergency, that all of a sudden we were in an economic emergency of losing our manufacturing and things like that. And it's like, well, that's been going on since the 90s, so it's not technically an emergency. And so some people were saying that he needs to rewrite his executive order. And I think they passed like a null and void of the executive order, but it does absolutely nothing. Like a null and void of one of the sentences in the executive order, but it does nothing. But when you watch where this thing is going, it doesn't really, it's not even about tariffs. Now I'm just, all I'm hearing about is China.
Like his point was that Trump could veto it. Could you imagine getting to this, whatever you'd need, however many Republicans you'd need to get to 67 in the Senate?
Anyway, Democrats need to hammer home, I think, they're not doing quite enough of this, in my opinion, the fact that 4 Republican members of Congress could stop this, or at least reverse it for now and let Trump then veto it, and then let's have an override vote and put everyone on the record. I was on a conference call recently, some Democrats explaining why they really couldn't do much. Maybe they should get a little out of the why we can't do anything as the minority mindset and a little more into the let's try to do everything, and then make the Republicans explain why they're stop the bad the Trumpy Republicans explain why they're stopping it, and the wishy-washy Republicans explaining why they're not actually just joining the Democrats to change these disastrous policies. I wonder how far away. What do you think? I mean, you've been pushing this for a while. We're not that far away, though. I mean, another few days of the markets like this, and one or two other events that might not be good for Trump, and I don't know. We could have real 2005 level Republican, frantic panic, I should think, as he did over Iraq and Katrina in 2005. No?
Yeah, but nah, man. I don't know. Like, the problem is that MAGA is not, MAGA is not thinking straight. MAGA thinks literally everything Trump does is great. MAGA thinks that if you say to somebody that, yo, I don't know, these tariffs look like we're going after China. It's just kind of like a China thing. You're a China agent. That's happened. I've had that happen. And I'm like, whoa. So let me see what Tim Miller has to say about that, and then we'll go from there.
I was going to point to a little later than that, which would have been late 2008.
Well, right.
During that financial crisis, right? I mean, the bank bailout at first, remember, was not like, there was not a sense that it was going to pass on the Hill.
Right. They got defeated in the House the first time. Yeah.
Yeah, got defeated in the House. And I remember kind of just watching that as an observer. At that point, I was out of politics. That was after the McCain loss. That was back in my first job for Sarah Longwell, actually. I was working in an office right next door to Sarah Longwell back when we were in our PR days, in our youth. Anyway, I remember watching that, and it fails, right? And the markets just tank again. And eventually it's kind of essentially this outside pressure that forces the issue on the Hill. That's certainly very possible here. And if we're at the worst 3-day drop since 1987 in the S&P 500, how much lower, could it go to force that? There's already some chatter with regards to Don Bacon, who is the Republican representing the Omaha, swingy kind of Omaha district in Nebraska, of putting forth he has a resolution to take this power back. If you make it a privilege, but Mike Johnson isn't going to bring it up. If you bring a privilege resolution, then there's a way to force the vote. So he was asked about that over the weekend and kind of basically said, well, maybe there'll be a time for that. Like didn't say no, didn't say it's yes. He was wishy-washy as usual. So maybe there is something there, but again, like this stuff gets very complicated, right? Like,
it definitely does. And look, before anything happens, when Tim did this episode, it probably was like, yesterday or the morning. It's already changing. Now the market is all over the place, but I actually don't, it's funny. I'm really weird. Like I do the whole stock market thing, but, so I'm not, I just think it's reacting to the volatile situation of like what's really happening, what's going on, because now all of a sudden Trump is talking about 90-day wait, but except for China. As a matter of fact, I'm going to double the tariffs on China. So this is what makes me feel like this is just a thing to go against China, right? With that said, it's a very volatile situation, and I feel the same way Tim does. I'm waiting and seeing. Not only am I waiting and seeing, though, I'm trying to see where do I fit in. That's the thing. This is what we have to take care of ourselves. MAGA is going to, I don't know, they're going to implode. I don't know what's going to happen because they think that this is for them. This is not for them. It's not for them. I just don't, unless you figure out how to make it for you. I'll leave it at that.